Hey guys, Stacy with Droners Life, and I'm so excited to have Dave Smith. He is the chief pilot or drone pilot for ESPN. Been doing that for how long now?
Since last year.
So how many events did you film last year?
I went to every one of the college game day shows, flying for those shows.
Okay. So what is it like on the ESPN set? Was it something new for you? I mean, I know every production is different.
I've been on college game day. That last year was my 24th year with the show. And last year they called and asked if I would be their first pilot, and it didn't take long to think about that.
Because you were already flying. You're a licensed pilot. I know that. But then you got you had the 107. Is that right?
I was one of the very first RC pilots to get the 333.
Oh, that's right, the 333, yes.
License and the closed set movie exemption.
Okay.
Needed to be able to fly for television shows. So that was the first step. And then last year when the FAA came out with the 107,
yes,
I was one of the very first to adapt to it, but I've also been a licensed pilot for 2/3 of my life.
Yeah, made it a little easier to take the test, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
And to give you a little bit of a background, built my first remote control airplane when I was 14 years old. I'm 61, so those that are quick at math can tell that I've been flying for a little while.
Yeah.
Built helicopters with the dream of putting cameras on them. Did realize that nobody at that time would hire an RC pilot flying a helicopter bigger than this table with a camera around on it for any price because of the liability.
Wow.
And then when the multicopters came about and the GoPros were being hung off the bottom of them, I said, now we're getting somewhere. And been a part of it ever since.
Yeah. So we had the same dream, except you actually went and got the helicopter and learned how to fly one. Me, I tried. It was not fun flying a helicopter. I couldn't get it under control.
Don't know how many I tore up learning. And
well, you must have had more money than me, because I tore up like 3 and I thought, that's it, I can't afford it.
You know, stubborn, just sticking with it, learning, hoping that I could work through it. The technology just wasn't there at that time.
Yeah. We were talking earlier, we have a friend that was down, I think he was in Jacksonville, Florida. He's flying with a X7 on an Inspire 2, and just the quality of the footage is phenomenal. And this is somebody, well, this guy flies professionally. We went down there flying professionally then. And we think, hey, $12,000 for a setup with batteries and everything, that's a lot of, that is nothing compared to what it used to be. And I laugh. I watch old movies and they do the aerials flying by and the camera's like jiggling around. It's on a full-size helicopter. And now with this technology, it's just such a game changer. And anybody with a good eye can actually take good footage. But not everybody is able to take it to the next step like you have and be on set. And we've done some large set stuff too for movies and high dollar commercials, and it's different on set. So can you share a little bit of your experience with that and making that crossover from somebody who has a decent eye to somebody who's actually succeeding at it?
Well, anybody that wants to be a part of this can learn. I'm one of about 120 to bring this 3-hour program to your television every Saturday morning. When I started on the show 24 years ago, the whole crew was 12.
It's crazy.
It's multiplied by 10. Every weekend it's a crew of 120 to bring the show to you.
Yeah.
And now to go from running the camera on the set to flying the Inspire to show a different view of our set from the air is pretty cool too.
Yeah, yeah. What does your crew look like? Is it just you, and how do you handle it? Because
so my flight crew consists of either 2 or 3 people. The pilot, the camera operator, and visual observer.
Okay.
For 90% of the work I do, I am flying pilot / camera operator.
Wow.
And then I have a visual observer keeping their eyes on the aircraft. To fly around inside a stadium and minimize the amount of time that I am taking up from other people being able to do their job, because when I'm flying, all work stops on the field so that I can do my job, so that I can make it look the best I can. And needless to say, I can't fly over any workers on the field, and so I just have to have a closed set and to minimize, and now I cannot fly the field typically until Friday, until after they have made all the paint preparations for it, because they wait till the last minute to do that, which puts me at a moment's notice. The second they're finished and they clear the field, I'm in the air. But I have to have the Skycam guys there with me to move their camera out of my way so that I'm not risking hitting it.
Yeah. But this is just stuff that you just don't think about.
I have to think about this, because if I make the news,
it's going to be
think
bad.
about it, it's going to be bad. It can affect the industry all the way across the board. And see, that goes back to me being old school.
Talking about being on set, okay? And I want to say this. The guys from Industrial Rotor have sent these over. You've been using the version Master Series Mark II for a while now. I think since you've been doing this, actually.
I have.
They've sent you the Master Series Mark IIA to replace those. There were some requests that you had made, I think, to them to cut this out, sort of hold the tablet better for you, because you were not using their mount, which their mount is magnificent.
It is.
But having quality stuff, because people, I tell people all the time, when you're working a production set, it's a different. When people say, "Hey, it's time to go," it's time to go. You can't be flipping around with a piece of naugahyde trying to get it to square up. You got usually, a lot of times, especially if you're on the movie set, you're gonna have somebody looking over your shoulder, looking at a feed. But a lot of times you'll have the DP looking over your shoulder, helping you frame the shot. But having good equipment is a big deal, and we love these shades ourselves, and I know that you have really enjoyed them. But it's important to have the right stuff, have quality equipment, so when you go out, you're not being held up by your equipment. So
that's correct, and that's why I love this shade. And I've watched the company grow, and the development, the way that these have evolved. In my opinion, they're the best on the market. I can fly with just about anything that I want to, and this is my shade of choice.
So you're using the 10.5 iPad?
I use the 10.5 Pro iPad for the ESPN flight system. I personally, when I am flying, I use the 9.7.
Okay.
Only because I bought the first one and it's still working, and I hadn't upgraded to the 10.5.
Yeah.
When my 9.7 dies, I'll be going up to the 10.5.
Well, good news. They sent you two 10.5s and one 9.7, so you're good to go. So this is your personal setup, right?
This is my personal setup.
Let's talk about what you're using here, because I see you got the Seacraft, or Seacraft, I don't know how they say it. I say Seacraft.
Seacraft tray that I have been using for 20 years.
Yeah. And they really are nice. They're nicely done.
And when these came out, and with the weight, the radio and all isn't terrible, but my problem is I want my fingers exactly where they're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And flying and having your fingers and holding the weight
it's
of
too
it,
much.
it's
for
just
any
too
length
much.
of time. Yeah.
And so now I'm at a perfect working attitude.
Yeah.
So no matter what happens,
no matter what you're doing, you're locked in.
It stays. It's pretty neat, and I don't know that it was designed this way, but for me, where the perfect position for my controller, just happens to be
right on your belt,
right on the belt buckle, and so that helps hold everything in place.
Yeah.
Don't know if that was the real purpose of that, but it serves it for me.
Yeah.
Now I can put my fingers exactly where they belong to control every function. When I'm operating my camera, I'm operating this wheel, I'm using the C1, C2 buttons. My fingers are exactly where they're supposed to be, in close reference to my shutter button, my video start button, the flight,
everything.
Okay. And with the other shades on the market, so there are other good shades. But the Hoodman, you have to reach up through. It's bulky. It falls over. I'm messing with it. This is the only shade that I have installed on my radio that it's there. I don't have, once I set the position of it, it is there.
And you can travel like this. And I don't know if other people realize, you got access to your...
I've got full access to the button on my iPad.
Yes, okay.
I can disconnect it. I can, at a moment's notice,
slide your iPad
I can slide my iPad out and change it if I have to. With ESPN, I have a spare. I learned that I have to have a spare everything.
Yes, absolutely.
In this industry, 2 is 1 and 1 is none.
It's just going to tear up.
And anybody that does not know what I mean by that, you'll find out.
The moment you go with one,
as soon as you just go with one cable, you're going to get on the job and it's going to die. So trust me, you want 2 of everything.
I'm sorry for interrupting. The other thing is, I noticed that you like now they do different shade configurations. You like the standard shade configuration. Do you have a problem with glare at all?
I do, but
it's not
for most part, I can move myself to where I'm comfortable.
Yeah. Well, with me, that's like I tell people. I go to the baseball game watching my son. If I'm watching through the fence and I'm not paying attention to the fence, I can watch that whole game. But once I focus on that fence, that's all I see is that fence. I have to move. And that's the same way I found out with this. If you're able to look through the glare, it's not a big deal. But some people just simply cannot. And they do have one that's an angled shade that's a glare buster in case you want to go with that. But where the shade actually, let me put these down, I'll show how that one works. It actually comes like this, and then you tilt your tablet back, so the screen is getting the reflection off the top of the shade, so that's available from them as well. But I'm like you, I love them. They are great to work with. I have a personal relationship with that company, and it's exciting. So
it's a great product.